and many more of those scholars who disagree with me and disagree with my brethren, who understand that it means limited period of time. There's no reason, there's no way you can make the noun aionios mean endlessness. If it means endlessness, what are we going to do with the plural? You can't multiply infinity.
You mean aion is in the Bible in the plural form?
Sure. It's in the plural form 60 sometimes, and then when you take in consideration those passages where it speaks of this age and that which is to come, improperly translated this world and that which is coming in the King James Version, when you take those in consideration, it runs over 80. So there's over 80 passages in the Greek New Testament that indicates a plural. And you can't have a plural of infinitive. You can't multiply infinitive. You can't multiply forever. I think most anybody that would stop and think would have to admit that that statement is true. There can be nothing longer than forever. And we read in the Greek text, Exodus 15:18, the Septuagint I'm referring to there. If I had it open and wouldn't take up the time, I'd be happy to read that Greek text. But it reads, the Lord is reigning for an age and upon an age. Just a little translation. And then we read kai eti. Kai means and, eti means longer or more or beyond. So here's the word aion used 2 times in this text. For an age and upon an age, epi aiona, kai eti, and longer. This agrees with the Latin Vulgate. The Latin Vulgate reads, the Lord shall be reigning. It's future in the Latin, I think, if I'm correct now. I'm quoting from memory. The Lord shall be reigning in eterium, which means it would be, we get our word eternal from this word, Latin word. And then it reads et ultra. And et ultra means and longer, and more, or beyond. And you can't have anything beyond or more or longer than eternity, as we understand it in the English language. Scholars admit that up until at least close to the 5th to the 10th century after Christ, that word never had the meaning of endlessness or beyond, just an age, a period of time.
I know you can talk about aion because I know you know more about that word than anybody that I know in the world. But I want you, would you tell me a little bit more about some of the other scholars, the great scholars around the world that are in seminaries today, like maybe the William Barclays or some of the other German scholars?
Barclay's already passed away, you know.
Right.
So he's gone.
But did he believe in aion like you did? Did he believe in the
He had to,
salvation of all
because he
mankind?
believed that all mankind would be saved. He certainly didn't believe that it meant endlessness in this absolute sense.
Speaking of William Barclay, who translated a Bible, are there scholars who have translated Bibles that have put what you found into the text or into the margins itself?
Certainly.
Can you name a few?
Weymouth, Richard Weymouth, who's the author of the resultant Greek text, which is one of the best Greek texts ever available to give you all the alternate reading. It's good, excellent. It's very rare to find that nowadays, hard to find. But certainly he mentioned right there in his footnotes that aionios meant limited period of time. It meant pertaining to the ages or belonging to the ages. He's not the only one. Many, many more scholars admit that. And these are scholars that I'm talking about, like Dr. Weymouth and them, are known outstanding scholars. Dr. Turner.
Huh? Nigel Turner?
Nigel Turner. He admits that that word cannot mean endlessness in his book, Christian Words. He also admits it, I think, in a way you can make endlessness out of it.
How does Robert Young handle the word?
He handled it of age abiding.
Age abiding in his translation?
In his translation.
How does he handle it in that very famous, that Young's concordance, Young's literal concordance? How does he handle aion and aionius?
In his concordance, Young's concordance, he handles it just like he does in his translation. If you'll hand me that Young's over there, I'll be sure that I'm quoting that right, age abiding. See it way over there? Hand me that. Let me see what he says on Matthew 25. And by the way, this fellow also, he's the author of Young's concordance, and also he's the author of, he has a commentary.
Yeah, I've seen it. I haven't got it, but I've seen it.
Let's see here now. What is Matthew 25:46? I want to quote this correct because I've read so many and so many different translations that it's pretty hard for me to just up and quote a translation now and tell you that here it is. Age during. Go away into punishment age during.
That's where Jesus...
But the righteous into life age during. That's the adjective. All right, now the noun, let me go back to the 24th chapter where the noun is used. And let's see how he translates that. 23, 24. End of the age. See, full end of the age. The way he translates. So he translates it age. Now, there's two passages in the scriptures that speaks of the end. There's lots of them that speaks of the end of the age, singular. But there's two passages in the scriptures that speaks of the plural, ends of the ages. 1 Corinthians 10:11. And regardless of what it means to you or to me, I'm talking about the text, trying to interpret it. It says literally the ends of the ages. And if I say the ages will never end, then I'm contradicting what it says. All right? Hebrews 9:26 says about the same thing again. And again, regardless of what the text means to you or to me, and which it does seem like we have a variation on how we interpret these passages, but it still says ends of the ages. And to say the ages will never end, then you've contradicted two clear statements in the scriptures. And that compound plural usage of it, where it reads aestus, ionas, ton, ionion, there's nothing mysterious about that. They try to make it a big mystery, but it isn't. We have the singular form in Ephesians 3:21, the age of ages. Why should that cause a big question as to what it means? Who fails to know what Lord of Lords means? We all know what King of Kings mean. We all know what Hebrew of Hebrews mean. That's singular with the plural. Now we have the same expression Paul uses, only he uses the word aion. And he uses it the singular with the plural, Ephesians 3:21. So what does it mean? It means the most important ages of all ages, just like King of Kings means the most important King of all kings.
If I remember right, the American Standard started bringing, what you were just talking about, the age of the ages and things like that, started to bring that into the text. Is that right?
If the American Standard was used by most people, and they were good students, they would read the alternate readings. They would see what I'm talking about. It's in there, put in every place correct, in the margin. Ages of ages, it'll tell you Greek, ages of ages. That would be the two most important ages of all the ages. There's a kingdom age coming. Of course, a lot of people don't believe that the Lord's going to come back and set up a kingdom. But if the Scriptures teaches anything at all to me, it teaches that Jesus is going to come back in the future, some of these days, and when he comes back, he's going to set up a kingdom right here on this earth, and he's going to rule on this earth. That would be the age of the age. Then after that, there's another age, Revelations 21:22. That cannot be the end. I know most people takes Revelation and say, well, here's the end of the whole thing. Right here's the last book. That's not true. Paul in 1 Corinthians 15:22 through 28 takes us much further in the future than Revelation does. Revelation's the 22nd chapter. They're still ruling. You read Paul and what he says in the 25th verse of 1 Corinthians 15. There'll be a time coming when there'll be no ruling. All authority will be abolished. The last enemy to be abolished is death. The lake of fire can't be an eternal place. That's called the second death. And I don't care if you had a dozen deaths. When it says the last enemy to be abolished is death, there'll be no more death. That says the last. Eschatos, the Greek word.